Hi, George here. And for this video, I've gone way back to one of my earliest project videos here on YouTube. And this one happens to be one from back, I think I was using Photoshop Elements 13 back then. It is currently the most popular YouTube video I've done for Photoshop Elements. It has about 250,000 views, about 250,000 views. Very good for a Photoshop Elements video. And let's see how this works nowadays with a more modern version of Photoshop Elements. I'll be cleaning up this picture, taking out the person in behind, getting this boat out of the front, just like that. Real nice, easy cleanup. Now this took a lot of work back then, back in Photoshop Elements 13. It was all done with just the clone stamp tool. Quite a bit of work. Let's see if we can speed things up here inside of a modern version of Photoshop Elements with some of the modern tools. And if you want to learn everything about how to use Photoshop Elements, don't forget that I do have a training course for this, and I'll put a link for that right down there in the description. It's really the best way to learn Photoshop Elements. So I'll just delete this one layer here and go back to the original. If you want to work along with this, I have a link for this picture in the description. Now I recommend making a copy of the file and working on a copy, or making a duplicate of the background layer. That just protects your original. In this case, I'm working on a copy of the original file, so this isn't the original file, just a copy. The first thing we'll try is the subject select option. And it's up here under select, come down to subject. And Photoshop Elements goes in and looks for the subject or subjects and then makes a selection around those. And as you can see here, it considers both people as being one subject because they're both basically in the same part of the picture. So that's not going to work for us. I mean, it gives us a nice selection on this side of the girl. I could use it if I wanted to. And it gives me a bit of a selection over here, but it's not what we need for this particular image. So that's not going to work, unfortunately. I'll use the Control-D keyboard shortcut. Another more modern tool in here is the Content Aware Fill, and that we can use to do very good effect. We'll start off down here at this boat. There's a boat seat, there's a boat steering wheel. I'll grab just the standard lasso tool and have my feathering here set at 2 pixels, which should be pretty good. And I'll make just a quick lasso right around that. The 2 pixel feathering helps to keep from getting a hard edge right along this section in here. Okay, edit, come down to fill selection. And then you want this set at Content Aware Fill and have it at normal blending mode and opacity of 100%. Choose OK. And that did a perfect job. Control-D to deselect that selection. And that's great. That's much easier. There's just a little bit right here. I could clean that out. And then over here do the same thing for the motor. Just come around here and take this out. There we go. Edit and fill selection. Choose OK. And again, that's perfect. Control-D to deselect. And I don't see any lines in there. So a little bit of stuff right down here again. So a little bit right on the edges, and that sometimes happens with this tool if we're up against an edge like that. And right down over here. Let's clean those out. So for that, I'll grab the regular clone stamp tool. You can see the brush size is right there. It's a 60 point on this picture. It's a soft edge brush. That's pretty good. Now here's a little trick. When you're using this tool, if you hold the Alt key down, normally you use that to select where you want to clone from. Alt key and click, and that's your clone from. But if you have a wheel on your mouse and you hold the Alt key down, you can use the mouse to scroll in and scroll out. It becomes a zoom control. And that can save you a lot of time when using this. Of course, the spacebar is your move tool. All right, let's just quickly get this cleaned out of here. Just kind of clean that up real fast down there. And then pull it over here, just a little bit right down along that edge. Okay, we'll go over here and get this other side. Alt click, get that out, and then Alt click right here and get that out again. There we go. And again, hold the Alt key down and use the wheel on your mouse, and it becomes a zoom tool. When you get to full screen, it's going to snap back into place. You can see that kind of centers that. So it worked great for there. That saved a lot of time. There's also a lot of people in the background back over here, right back in here, right-hand side, some people over here as well. Let's start off with these left people. And I'll do that same trick. Now I'm on the move tool. Hold the Alt key down, and notice you can still use a wheel on your mouse as a zoom tool. Spacebar to move. We'll do just a little bit of cleaning up in here. And we'll go to the lasso tool. And then one interesting thing about using the Content Aware Fill is it tends to grab things from the left-hand side a lot of times. I'm not really sure about why it does that. So for instance, if I grabbed this person on a boat right here, tried to remove that, it could take this bit here and just clone it on top of this. So I try having something clean on the left-hand side when I'm using this tool. So right like that, and then fill selection, choose OK. There we go. Give me a good clean selection. Control D to deselect. And let's do that right in here. We'll take this bit out and edit. Fill selection again. And that cleaned that up pretty well. The edge of the water is a bit odd maybe, but I think that's acceptable. And we'll get these last people in here. Now, if I tried taking out this bit here, it could get that. Again, it seems to want to go to the left-hand side when it's making this kind of a clone stamp. I'm not sure exactly why it does that, but that does seem to be how it works in my experience. You can see right here, there's that bit here, and that's right over here. So it grabbed this area here and cloned it over here. So it's grabbing from the left-hand side. And we can clean out one of those just so we don't have too many of the same things happening. So having the content-aware fill can really speed things up on this kind of an image. Let's get this boat out, then we'll take out that last boat over there. And then edit. Fill selection, okay, and there we go. Now this time I grab from the right-hand side as well, so it's grabbing from both sides on that one. But I still think it's going to be going to the left most of the time. And that did. That bit here looks like it's from right in here. Okay, just deselect that. And our last one right here, and that should finish off this section. And okay, and there we go, Control D to deselect. That looks pretty good. Alt key, and I can zoom back out with that tool, and that solved that area nicely. I'll just space bar down. Let's go over to this side. This is a bit more tricky over in here because we have not only the people, but we also have reflections in the water. So I'm going to take out the people first and the boats first, and then do the reflections as a second pass. And I'll do this half a boat at a time, like that. And let's see how this goes. Fill selection, choose OK, and Control D. Okay, not too good. I can really see that edge in there, so it grabbed from something odd. Not really sure where I grabbed that from. But we'll go back and we'll clean that up using the standard clone stamp tool technique. We'll use this to get as much as we can, as easily as we can. Okay, Control D, I grab from the bottom on that one. Let's now get some of these reflections out of here. Let's take it right across like that. And then fill selection again. That's fine. And a little bit right down in through here. Same thing. So the fill selection and the content-aware fill is saving us a lot of time on some of these pieces down here, some of this background stuff. So that's good. So there is one tool here that is a definite improvement. This can save you quite a bit of time when you're doing a more complex image like this, and that's good. Okay, let's get this stuff right over in here. Start off with this one. And notice that I'm just using the same tool over and over again. And we'll have to go back and do some more cleanup again after this part of this is done. So this is just a way to take care of a lot of this quickly, making the next bit of work that much faster. And I'll often do this. I'll often go back in and just clean up background stuff first, so it's out of the way, and then move into the foreground stuff where it's more important. There we go, Control D again. Get this one reflection out of here. There we are. That's looking good. This stuff right here is not too good. I'm not very happy with that. Let's take that piece out. It's very obvious and I can't really see what it's reflecting. Okay, now in here we have these lines that should be across here. We'll fix that later on. I'll hold the space bar, now I have some stuff up in here. We have this bit of this fishing rod up here. I think we can handle this. Notice this also is a pretty low resolution picture. You can really see it on that fishing rod. We have a lot of JPEG artifacts in there, kind of messing up that edge. We'll be cleaning that out. And if I pull down here, you can see this is the rod held by the person in the background. The person in the foreground also has a rod, also has some of that artifacting in there. We'll take care of that as we go. But on this one, another good chance here for the content-aware fill. Control D, there we go, that's nice. And you can see the line over here. I want that taken out. I can't see the line on the sky, so I'm not going to care about that. And that's good. We can now edge down towards the person. Notice I'm kind of staying away from that edge up there on the top of the trees. I did that on purpose. I didn't want to have anything being pulled up too far. And we'll fill selection in here. And that's good. Control D again. And that's all looking pretty good. That is a little odd right there. Let me see if we can just fix that bit with this same tool. And that did, so that's fine. Okay, now we're getting into the more difficult stuff. We can't use the content-aware fill in here very much. It's going to give us some big problems. It's not very good at real large areas. It's better at smaller areas with a constant background. This is a larger area, and the background is shifting around, so it's not as good for that. And we don't need it anyplace else. We've seen how we can't use the subject select, so that's out of the question. So we're going to have to, at this point, switch back and use the regular clone stamp tool. And I'll do that in sections. Again, I'm holding down the Alt key right now and just scrolling in. And we'll start off with the top part of this fishing rod. And for this, I'm going to change over here to the polygonal lasso tool, and I'll just begin right down here. And we'll pull this straight up right along that edge. I'm just clicking a few times in here. And I can work around the, I think these are called eyes on fishing poles. I'm not a fisherman, so I don't really know exactly what those are called, but you know the thing where the fishing line goes through, I'm sure you all know what that is. Pull it straight up across here and come out at the top and out a ways and back over here. I can't see where I began. I know it's up around in here someplace, but I'll go over here and just double click and that automatically closes it. Okay, it was right down here. That automatically closes that selection. Let's grab the standard clone stamp tool. I have mine set on a soft edge brush. I'll use the left square bracket to bring my brush size down a bit, right about here. Hold the Alt key down to choose a spot to clone from, and then paint over where we're cloning it to. Now, something about this clone stamp, you can paint from areas inside or outside of your selection. It doesn't matter, but you can only paint into a selection. So I'm using this selection just as a mask to limit where I can paint into, and that mostly gives me that hard edge right across the edge of that fishing rod. Okay, Control D, deselect. Bottom looks really nice. I can zoom in a bit more on that. You can see that nice clean edge. Let's get our top section up here. And I'll come down here just in front of his sunglasses. Now, the pole kind of goes a little bit out of focus right there, so I'm going just a hair outside of where that pole looks like it is. I'm leaving in a little bit of that out of focus on that edge. That'll keep that edge just slightly soft, and that looks more like it does in the photograph. So I don't want to be too sharp edged on that. And back here, double click, there's the selection. Back to our clone stamp tool, here we go. I'll Alt click right here, and let's take out this brim of the hat. And this will be the basic procedure here. We'll be working just a section at a time and cleaning up the areas around what we want to keep in our picture. And then we'll come back in and do larger cleanups after that. So Control D to deselect, spacebar for remove. So I'm working just on the fishing pole at this point. And let's keep on going. Now already this has gone a lot faster than it did last time because a lot of that background cleanup was so much quicker with a content-aware fill. Good use for that particular tool. I think I'll hold the spacebar now. I'll come clear down to her shirt right here at this point. And I'll go up the shirt just a little ways. Just doing little clicks. Each time you click, it places a dot, and then Photoshop Elements connects those dots together. I'll put back up here to the top again. Double click, goes back to the beginning, which is right here. And then clone stamp tool. And I'll come out here someplace. This all looks like it's real even, consistent sky. It's a bit darker over here, but in here we're pretty close. Alt and click, and then I'll just paint that right over that section. If I keep on going down here, it's going to begin grabbing his shirt right there. You can see that happening right there. So space bar and reposition my clone stamp tool. And pull that down to here and just move into that section. So that is good right there. Again, just cleaning off against what I want to be keeping. Control D to deselect. Let's now do the other side of this fishing pole. Same trick. And I'll come down right down to the corner here of her shirt, right down to the shoulder. And we'll start at that point and just moving the image we want to remove away from the figure we want to hang on to. And then same thing right around here. We're just staying close around this one piece here, the fishing pole. There's an inside section there. We'll also have to clean that out. We'll do that after this one pass here. But that's real basic. That's pretty easy to get that. You get on the curves, you just put your dots closer together to get those curve shapes. Okay, and then I'll take it right up along this edge of the pole, space bar, and we'll go straight up here, right about to there, and a little bit into this piece. I didn't go around this one either. So we can get this cleaned out at the same time. And right around here, the inside of that one looks okay. Okay, then out and around and back to our beginning point, which is right about here. Double click. There we go. Back to the clone stamp tool. Let's come in here someplace, Alt and click, and then paint that in and reposition, Alt and click. So we can now paint around that bit. Then just reposition where I'm cloning from a few times until I get the whole section cleaned out. And this will be taking out that guy that we don't want in there. Now here I don't care about that. I'm far enough away from this stuff. I can just leave that for now. And let's get this bit right around in there. Okay, Control D to deselect and hold the Alt and the wheel on the mouse. And that's looking good. That's all taken care of. Let's just now go inside of this ring right here. Same trick. Back to our selection tool, make a polygonal selection inside of here. And just put this clear around. I'm not really sure what that little bump thing is there. I'm just going to ignore that. Could be a glitch on the film. And clone stamp tool, grab from right here and just toss that in. Okay, Control D to deselect. So that's going well. Okay, now some tricky stuff. We have our hair in here overlapping his shirt, and it's just touching the back of his hair here and right up there. You can see some more of those problems in here caused by the JPEG compression. You get this kind of stuff along edges frequently with JPEG compression. That's okay, we're getting rid of that anyway. So back to our polygonal lasso tool, and I'll continue my selection. And just work up along this edge here. There we go. And right up along the side of her face. Now in here we'll have to be a little bit selective. There isn't enough contrast difference in here, and her hair is too fine back in here to use something like the refine edge. That's not going to be helping us at all on this. And her hair is too out of focus as well. So the refine edge is useless. And yes, I did try that, and it just doesn't work. So let's do it the hard way. And that's making a very careful selection, kind of following our shape in here. And that's really all you need. This is very small on the picture when we really come down to it. And you won't really see any of this in the picture. But we'll do a little bit of just kind of coming here and giving it a rough edge. And that will help out on the final on this. And it's only the part in here on his shirt that is a problem. Once it has sky behind it, that's okay because we want to have that sky behind it. So that's fine. So in here I can just come around like this to stay a little bit away from that bit of a mess in there from the JPEG compression. And then right around up in here. That's good. And then in and around. And then down through this section here. And come back down and find our beginning spot. Double click right here. And back to the clone stamp tool again. Now, there's not as much here to work with, so I'm going to move this over here and I'll grab from outside here. Alt and click. And let's bring that in. If I happen to bump into something, we can then come back and redo that section. Now notice how we're seeing a little bit of a shirt through there. We'll do a couple of tricks to minimize that effect. But this is working out pretty well to remove the rest of his figure. Of course, we stop it right here, and there's that fishing rod. So click out here again, reposition, and then we'll get rid of that. There we go. That's good. Control D to deselect. And now just a bit of cleanup here without having a mask to help that, which is just real easy because there's nothing up against this. So that's why I was working against those edges, getting things away from the areas I wanted to hang on to. Then I can finish up the clean out very quickly out here just by repositioning a few times and then painting that out. If it does that, just reposition and take that out. Okay, there we go. That's good. We'll come back to fixing the hair in just a little bit. Let's now get this taken care of right down through here. Same thing back to the polygonal lasso tool. And we're going to come down and find this edge right along here. And we'll get the whole edge done. And when we're taking out the guy in the background there, we have that tree line to worry about. So there'd be a little bit of careful work in there to fix that, but it's not a big deal, really. It's a fairly straightforward clone stamp tool problem. So as you can see, at this point, we're back to using the old tools again. There's nothing new inside of Photoshop Elements that makes this any easier. We still have to get a good tight selection and be very careful about this. And if I tried using the content aware fill here, it would come in and give me parts of his body and stuff because the area is just too large. That tool works better on smaller areas unless you have nothing else around it. For instance, if I had somebody standing in the middle of a big green field, I could use that content aware fill for the whole figure and it would do a great job. But if you have anything else in here really, like differences between sky and grass and water like we have here, and somebody else standing next to them, it's going to go in and grab some of that content as well, and it's not going to give you the effect that you want. So sometimes you just have to do things the hard way and come in with the clone stamp tool. But it has worked wonderfully for years, and it still works wonderfully. It just takes a little bit longer than some of our newer tools. But that's okay. The best thing to do is to use the best tool for the job, whatever the job happens to be. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to use. Okay, let's keep on going down here. And we'll get all the rest of this seam here, this connection between these two figures, all of this taken care of. And we'll clean it all up in one big pass at that point. All the real tricky stuff has already been done except for fixing where her hair was overlapping onto his shirt. And that's actually not a difficult problem to fix. It's actually pretty easy. A couple little tricks in there and we'll get that cleaned up very nicely. And it will look perfect when that's finished. Okay, just following on down here. And getting this separation down below. There we go. And we'll take it clear outside. Now we're taking out the guy, so I want to have the guy selected. So I'll come down here and we'll be going over to this side. And then back up here, giving myself a little bit of space there. That just helps it when I'm putting in the clone stamp, I have some room to work into. And this fishing pole in here, take care of that as well. There we go. And again, you can really see the JPEG artifacting in there along the edge of his shirt and his arm. That's a problem with JPEG. It tends to do those kind of messy things. A better compression format to go to is the PNG format. It doesn't have as much of that kind of problem. It doesn't compress as well. But part of the reason it doesn't compress as well is because it's not giving you all that messy stuff. Okay, we're now set. We can come in and clean out the rest of this guy. I'm going to back out a little bit, Alt, and then use the scroll wheel on the mouse. Back out about that far. That's good. Back to our clone stamp tool. And I'll first come in tight and take care of a little bit of the shirt. I'll come up and grab some sky up here. And let's put some sky right in there. And then grab some of this greenery in here, some of the trees, and that should be in here. Like that someplace. And then down here, I'm just kind of marking my position. Let's just grab some of this water edge. And we'll get that water edge going in here. There we go. When you're working with a line like this, try to find the line, clone from the line, and then come back in, and you can see the line in there. Bring that back in and just line that up, and then work along that line. That gives you the most realistic look. It just blends in that way perfectly. And let's come in and get that. Okay, so that's kind of what I want in here. And then some more of this tree line right through here. Now, when you're doing trees like this, you don't want to make it noticeable where you're copying from. So I'll be coming in and doing just a lot of little repositioning on this. I'm using a small brush size. That helps to mess things up, make it a bit more inconsistent. And then repositioning a lot. And that helps as well. There we go. And it should make a nice random appearance. So we can come back in and do a little bit larger stamp just to finish that stuff off. And spacebar. Now in here, I need the top of the leaf, so I'll come over here. I'll grab something like that and come back in here, and use this to get our skyline. It's just about like that. Maybe a little bit right up in here. I think that works. And then take out that shirt up here. And at that point, we should be just about done with the figure at the top end. A little bit right in there. Okay, so now take a look at the bottom end. Go down to the water in here, and I have a horizontal line caused by this reflection. So I'm just going to copy that and move that in. We'll need to clean up that edge a little bit, but that's okay. We can do some of that kind of cleanup as a final pass in here. Just do your big strokes first, and then we'll come back in and do the smaller stuff as a second pass on this. You're going to be seeing the edge where that selection is, but that's okay. We can work around that. Not that hard to do that kind of a cleanup. Okay, down here I think I can go for a larger brush size. It's the right square bracket. Just tap that for larger brush. And I'll take some of this stuff and bring that in right in here. There we go, and just work that clear through, reposition again. And that's looking good. And just continue to work on down until we get the whole leg on this side cleaned out. And a little bit reposition right in here and get that. There we go. And get this leg out in that little bit here. Up a little bit, and we'll finish that off. Okay, that looks good. Now let's use a Control D to deselect and look for our edge. And to hide that edge, just do a little bit of clone stepping in here just to come over where that edge is. It's kind of hard to see most of the time here. Lines are good for this. You can find something that has a line on it, just pull that line, just clear across, and the eye follows the line and doesn't see where the vertical line happens to be. You can kind of see it right in here. So again, I'm just going to take this line there and just pull that straight across, and that helps to hide things. And up here, a little bit right here. And let's pull that across and hide it in here. So a little back and forth on that. And then right like that. And I'll take out some of these little reflections that are happening. Just kind of move those back into the water a little bit. There we go. And I missed a little bit of string right there. Okay, let's scroll back out, and that's all looking pretty good. I think we're okay in here. Not really seeing any problems. And there we go. Now, last thing to fix then is the girl's hair on this right-hand side. And the biggest problem here, well, there's two problems. One, it's a little bit blocky in here. So for that, I'll go back to the clone stamp tool, and I'll bring the brush size way, way down so it's real small. Like there's a 3 pixel right here. And I'll grab some air out here, and I'm just going to come in here and just kind of just bring that in a little bit and make the hair just a little bit wispier in through here. And put some spots inside. There we go, just a little bit. Just breaking up that edge. There we go, and a little bit over here. Like that. And right down over in here, let's break up that edge a little bit. Okay, that's good. Now there's still a little bit of blue in here from his shirt. So for that, let's go over here to this tool. This is the sponge tool. You want to set at desaturate. I have mine at 50%. And then it's brush over that with this tool. Like that. And that takes out that blue from his shirt. We have the exact same problem over here. With this, I'll do the exact same thing right here. Just brush over that. And that takes that blue out. Control 0 to fit screen. And there we go. Another nice successful person removed from a picture. A difficult one, again, because it's in behind a lot of stuff and in behind our foreground figure. But really fairly straightforward. We only got any advantage in here from using the content-aware fill. The subject select, of course, didn't work with the 2 people overlapping like that. But the content-aware fill really did help us on the background people quite a bit, and that saved a fair amount of time in here. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Click on subscribe. I'm just beginning to build up this channel, so I need all the subscriptions I can to get this channel going. Right now, I'm not making anything in here from ads. I can't get super thanks, any of those things that I normally get on my main channel to keep the channel paid for. So this channel is, for the next few months, losing me money. So you can help out quite a bit by purchasing my training course if you haven't already picked that up. So So I'll put a link for that right down there in the description. And I have different versions for each different version of Photoshop Elements. It's not just a new version. I go way back to Photoshop Elements 10. So there's a lot of different versions there to match your version of Photoshop Elements. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this project, and I'll see you next time.